we're joined by our friend Karol Markowitz. She is a columnist and also the host of the Karol Markowitz podcast, which is on the Clay and Buck Podcast Network. So please subscribe, go check it out. Karol, you have a gift for being a person on the right who still maintains friendship and connectivity with a lot of what we would call the normies,
Mhm.
or the everyday folks who aren't particularly interested in politics, especially normie moms, suburban moms. How's it
Those are my
looking for Trump
people.
right now?
I have to say that it's looking better than we hear in the media. Normies are concerned about quality of life above all. And quality of life has really deteriorated in the last 4 years under the Biden Kamala presidency. And so I think what we're seeing in the media is this hysteria against Trump. Women are not going to vote for him. But he got 46% of the women vote in 2020. That's not nothing. That's pretty high. And it's better than Hillary did with men in 2016. So I think we're looking at it sort of wrong. If Trump can focus on crime, the border, general quality of life issues, kind of limiting the crazies of the left, I think he could really do well with my normie people.
I certainly hope so, because the more we hear about Kamala policies, today is kind of like the start of the Kamala campaign as far as
Hmm.
actual things that she says she's going to do are concerned. And I know that, and I'm absolutely, I wouldn't say I'm guilty of this, because I actually think that they are communists. They just don't want to call themselves that. Like, if they could get closer and closer to communism each year,
Sure.
they would. Well, they are doing it. But when you have somebody whose response to high prices, home affordability issues, a housing crunch, is to essentially say, I'm going to put in price controls and
Hmm.
also accelerate the demand side of things by just throwing government money to people so they can further exacerbate the supply demand issue. It feels a little commie. I mean, it
Oh,
really, it's hard
yeah.
not to look at this and say, what does she miss about the last 100 years or so?
Right. I mean, I fully agree that commie is not too harsh a term here. I'm from the Soviet Union, as you know, I was born there. Price controls been tried. Feel like we've been through it once or twice before. And that's another thing. I think that the normie groups that Trump is trying to court understand that handing out free cash to your constituents, A, will never benefit them, never. And B, I think that they get that it harms everybody, that the more money you send out to people, the higher the prices get in the grocery store. I think these are exactly the kind of people who do make that connection. The Kamala price control thing, it's never going to pass. It's for low information voters who are like, oh, Kamala's going to bring down the price of groceries at the grocery store. Well, Kamala's vice president right now. Why isn't she doing that now if it's such an easy fix? If it's greedflation or vibe session or whatever crazy words the Democrats come up with to describe really basic economic policy that pushed our prices up because of what they did on their end. Why not do it now, Kamala Harris? Bring those prices down today.
Yeah, I would want to know how we're supposed to take the game they play of Kamala was both critical to the Biden administration, but
Yeah,
also not involved in any of the bad stuff that the Biden
amazing.
administration has
Yeah.
created. Uh, you know, well, which one is it? I've the media, to me, it's almost like there's a propaganda schizophrenia or something underway.
Mhm.
They aren't even sure what's best for their team. So it's like they're trying everything at the same time.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Kamala is the serious candidate, but she's also Miss Joy. Everything's so joyful. They're trying a rerun of the Obama Hope, thing. I don't think it really works with Kamala Harris. Look, I think the Trump campaign should be taking all of this very seriously. They should be afraid of the Kamala Harris campaign. But I think that she's floundering. And I know that the numbers, her numbers are good right now, but I think the crash is coming. I think it's just when that crash is going to come because she's not that sharp. She does not get her point across that well. And when asked to kind of speak off the cuff, she doesn't do it very well. So I think the Trump campaign should take her very seriously. I think they should rebuff and rebut all of her statements, but I think that she's not doing as great as the media would love us to think she is.
Oh, I totally agree with that. We're speaking to Karol Markowitz. You should all check out the Karol Markowitz podcast, which is on the Clay and Buck Podcast Network. Download the iHeart app, look at Clay and Buck or Karol Markowitz, and then just start listening via the iHeart app or wherever you get your podcasts. And Karol, you also allude there to something else that I think is really interesting. I should probably do this weekend and show up on the show next week and just start blasting out these headlines. It was really the consensus among Democrats that Kamala Harris was a drag on Joe
Yeah.
Biden and for
Mm-hmm.
his reelection effort until the
Right.
debate with Biden where it all fell apart. But there was talk about maybe Gretchen Whitmer stepping in if they could get Kamala to take like attorney general in the second term or
Yes.
something,
Right.
basically anything to get her off the ticket. And it was
Mhm.
Democrats reporting that. And now we're supposed to forget that.
Right. And I would say that you and I we were wrong that Biden wasn't going to step down, right? Or, not run
Whoa,
for reelection.
hold on.
Wait, oh no,
I need
I
to
just
jump in here.
I want to just add, I know, but I was going to say the reason why I think you and I thought so firmly that Biden had to be the candidate is because it could only be Kamala Harris. And that was
Yes.
why for me, I was like, well, if they get rid of him, it has to be her. I did not entertain for 1 second. I heard Michelle Obama. I heard Gavin Newsom. I heard, Charlie Kirk. I mean, not trying to call him out, but he said it was going to be Jill Biden. I mean, there was a range of people. And you and I were like, no, it's going to be Kamala if it's not Biden. It has to be Kamala. And she was the drag. And now she's this conquering hero. Sorry, go ahead.
Right.
Defend
Well,
yourself.
this is why I'm so
Yeah.
confident that and remain confident that Trump is actually going to win. I mean, anything is possible. We have to take it seriously. You're in a race, right? And if it doesn't matter who you're racing against, if you're in like
Right.
NASCAR or Formula One, if you run into the wall, it's over, right? So it's not. It doesn't matter if you're faster or better. Like you actually have to execute, and that's kind of
Yeah.
how I view the Trump thing. If Trump just executes and stays on task, he will win. And I mean for Trump, I don't mean becoming something else. But on the Biden thing, that just kind of gets me because, our good friend, yours and mine, and my esteemed colleague, Mr. Clay, he gets a stake out of me because I said Biden would be the nominee. Clay was
Mhm.
saying that Biden wouldn't even run, like it was going to be decided beforehand, and also Michelle
Right.
Obama. But technically, our bet was on the nominee. People, Biden made it further as the nominee than anybody in the history of the republic who then just decided, or actually didn't decide, but
Right.
was pushed out. So,
Mhm.
there were all these people who were saying it was going to be, he wouldn't even run again. To me, Biden ran. He just had to
Sure.
abort his campaign, right? I mean, the decision was that
Right.
he was going to run again.
Yeah, I owe Clay a steak too. So I too
Yeah, I
am
know.
bitter
I know. See,
about
Carol and I are both a
that
little bitter
we
about this.
didn't put the details in the bet. Clay and I did have some alternative bets going on if anything went wrong. But
Well,
yeah, we should have had
well, he
some
is so
more
lucky, by the way, because
contingencies in
he's been
there.
saying also, and I gave him a an out clause now because technically it was, we were talking about a Biden Trump race, but he said
Mhm.
that there's going to be a huge shift in the Jewish vote for Republicans. I do not believe that that's true. I forget what
Oh, I
number it
don't
was. Like,
know. Yeah.
we'll see.
I don't know. I don't know. I
But I
mean,
let him out.
well, what's a huge shift, right? That's the thing. Look, an eight
I think it
percent
was either
shift.
10 or 15 points. He said like a 15
That's
point swing
tougher.
toward Trump.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
I'm at the 8% should be the over under. I think. I think Trump picks up an extra 8% of the Jewish vote, which is a huge swing. Listen, these things take time. They're slow going. I'm Jewish. I'm conservative. I think it's a crazy thing that Jews vote for Democrats. Insanity. I think a lot of my fellow Jews have realized it this time. Will they get to the voting booth and pull for Trump? I think a hefty 8% will, increase. But I think a lot of them will stay home. And that's
So
also
that'll get us
something.
close to, right, because it's usually 60-40, I think, and roughly in
Yeah,
60% Democrat, 40% Republican, I
a
think.
little,
Is
a
that
little
about?
lower. It's like 30. It's Trump got 30% of the Jewish vote. And
Oh, it's
then,
30. Okay, see,
yeah,
that's even lower than I
well,
thought.
yeah, and he got 34% of it in Florida. And so also it matters where. If he makes a serious increase in Pennsylvania, he could win Pennsylvania just based on the Jewish vote. So it does
Right.
matter, even though we're this little blip in the, demographics, but it will make a difference in some areas. I hope Pennsylvania Jews are ready to vote for Donald Trump. I hope they do it. I hope that they are awake and aware and understand what's at stake here.
I think that decision not to go with Shapiro may have been the single, like, other than all the campus craziness and the anti-Semitism and everything, and the
Yeah,
Democrats. Remember, Biden tried to have it both ways, right? Like, Biden wasn't saying, yeah, like, I love the Hamasniks, like, they're great. He was,
right.
oh, we need to worry about Palestinian children in Gaza, but we also
Hmm.
need to, like, support Israel, right? He tried to do this both ways thing. But when you look at the actual decision making, to me, it is
Easy
now,
call.
I
Yeah.
want to know where you are on this. To me, it is indefensible political malpractice to have gone with this Walz guy over Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania, assuming Shapiro would have taken the job.
Yeah, so I so agree. Josh Shapiro should have been a layup for them, a popular governor of a state that they need to win. Easy, easy call. But obviously, all the articles about Shapiro's baggage that were like, is his baggage that he's Jewish? Because that's what this reads like.
Right.
It had an impact. And look, they didn't want to piss off the Hamasniks before the DNC. They're already worried about riots at the convention. And this would have been, I can't even imagine what would happen. Chicago would burn. And that's the case that they know it is. Um, so yeah, I agree. Walls, he's become a drag on the ticket, and there's no really two ways about that. Super far left, super crazy policies, says insane things, and then we have the stolen valor thing, which, you talk about the normie vote. They hear this. They get that he lied about his service. And how do you do that? How do you do that when you're in the kind of position that he was in? And that he got away with it for so long is also registering. A lot of people are like, wait a minute, he was a politician for so many years. How come this never came out? And the truth is, it did come out, but not in the media outlets that, the liberal left media outlets, not in the New York Times, not in the Washington Post. And now they have no choice but to cover it. So I think stuff like that will get the normie suburban vote over to the Trump side, hopefully, or staying home, which is also a win.
I also have to say, I'm to be going to be drunk driving 96 in a 55 while you're lit up. It's
That's
really
wild.
reckless. Really
Hmm.
reckless. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
96 and a 55 is bad, although I have friends who are speeding, but it's at least if you were 100% sharp, you can make the argument like I can drive fast and I'm safe, although actually that's too fast at a 55. It's obviously very, very illegal.
Right.
Um, but to be drunk and going 96 and a 55, he's lucky he didn't kill himself and other people by going out and doing
Absolutely.
that. And
Right.
and he's like the great hero of, Midwestern America now, according to Democrats. I just think it's absurd.
Yeah, terrible decision making really shows something about his character. I don't know how that passed, kind of the vetting process. And it sort of makes me think that maybe they were going to go with Shapiro and as a last minute switch to get Walz in because he just doesn't seem that great. What does he really add to this ticket? He's from a state that the Democrats are going to win anyway. Even Ronald Reagan didn't win Minnesota. So it's, I don't
Yeah.
know what he really brings to the table here.
I think it is one of the gifts that they have given to the Trump ticket. So we'll see if they're. But you're like me, right? You're confident if Trump, if Trump stays on the track and finishes the race, he'll
Yeah.
win. Yeah.
I'm very superstitious Russian Jew. I don't say things like this out loud, Buck. So we're gonna just go with he should continue working hard. He should keep
Okay.
trying, but we'll see what
And I
happens.
want to tell everybody because obviously they're all going to go this week and listen to your fantastic show on the Clay and Buck Network. Did you have any guests on this week, or were you just rolling solo?
Yeah, no, I have guests on every week. I think you should check it out. I had Yellow Bartour. I had sorry, I forgot his name, but yeah, I've had some really great guests recently. Steve Robinson was on talking about how the Chinese mafia has taken over Maine. That's a story that has kept me up at night. And if you want to be
What?
losing sleep, you
Wow.
listen to my show. Yeah, it's a really good one. He's been on that, and now it's becoming sort of a national story. NBC covered it recently, but he's been the guy who has been ringing the alarm on this for a long, long time. Steve Robinson, check him out, Maine Wire.
All right, go check it out. Karol Markowitz, everybody. Karol, thanks so much.
Thanks, Buck.
We are keeping our focus on Israel this weekend. Israeli citizens continue to be on higher alert than normal for a possible attack from forces backed by Iran. And there's good reason to be prepared for whatever comes next. In the event of an attack from one hostile force or another, Israelis across the country could be forced to spend days in bomb shelters if the attacks continue for a long period of time. While these shelters keep Israelis safe, they need to be equipped with essentials for survival, including food and water. to prepare people to live in them for long periods of time. This is where the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews is most helpful. The fellowship has initiated a project to provide people with access to bomb shelters with emergency food boxes. 10,000 of these food boxes have been delivered, and they're preparing to deliver thousands more. If you can support the fellowship's efforts, now is the time. Donate $45 to help provide an emergency food box that includes items like food, water, baby formula, and other critical essentials for vulnerable Israelis trapped in bomb shelters. The website to go check out now to support our friends in Israel, supportifcj.org. That website is supportifcj.org.